Rob, 161 days later, we're back playing here at Sandy Park and it's a winning return. You must be happy.
Yes, obviously, you know, I say this all the time, people get bored of me saying it, you know, any point in the Premiership is an important point. A win is fantastic and a bonus point win is as good as it gets, you know, however you want to dress it up and however you want to improve, you can't get better than that. And that's a bit how it feels now. You know, that was a challenge, you know, think how long Leicester in the lead today, and yet we've come through with a bonus point win. And I think that's a key strength for us, has been in the past, and it was amazing to see that still stuck there, despite the fact that there was no crowd here and there was none of that kind of outside emotional help that you can get. To go 6 points down and everything seemed to be a battle, and then to eventually come through with 4 tries, and that shows some real mettle and a real positive for us about where we want to go this season, that we're prepared to just dig in and fight, not lose our way, you know, stick to what the Exeter machine is all about, and eventually if you drive it hard enough and you work hard enough within it, then you start to get positive results, and that's what happened today. There
was always going to be a bit of ring rustiness, I think that's the term, isn't it? That first quarter, but Leicester come at you as well. They're under a new coach.
I just said to Steve, you know, I thought the way they warmed up, the way they were talking to each other, the way they were interacting, gave them a lot of energy, and we've just done well to come over the top of them in the end by sticking to what we do. Our substitutes did well, we defended very well, which meant, you know, it was never easy for Leicester, and I think that's the important thing. Although they get points up, it was never easy for them. And that's the key, you know, you've got to keep making the opposition fight as hard as they can, and you've got to fight as hard as you can to get your points. And I thought those 2 elements we did really, really well.
You talk about the machine was working, getting those tries, but Hoggy's try in particular, that was off set piece, something a bit different, that was class.
Yeah, that's what you want. You want to try and create as many threats as you can in as many different ways. That's what puts opposition under pressure. You know, if they're scared about how you're going to scrummage, the back row stay down, which might create space for your backs to carry, and you know, at the same time, if they're worried about your backs, the back row want to get up, and that helps you scrum. And it's the same if you pick and go. You know, if they're worried that if you play away from the pick and go, you might score, that helps you pick and go. And if they're worried about you might play away from a line out, that helps you more. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to try and create as many threats as you can in as many different ways. And I just thought we did that really, really well.
Rob, you talk about always keeping things in your own hands. Last night, Sale lost, and you've got 5 points there. You've already increased your lead on them. You know, that's keeping things in your own hands.
That's exactly what you've got to do. You've got to try and find your own destiny, so to speak. We're doing that really well. Obviously now, you know, there won't be a tougher scenario than going to Sale on a Friday night after they've just lost. You know, so you know it's going to be like that. We're going to have to work extremely hard every week, but that's all you can do, and you should be relishing that. We should be rolling our sleeves up today and going, right, short week, players' week. They're going to get one, 2 maybe training sessions in. Then they're going to be travelling to Manchester, spending a bit of time in a hotel together, enjoying each other's company, and then they're going to be chucking themselves out against Sale, and then, you know, a few days later we're chucking ourselves out against Bristol. You know, it's incredible. It's going to be fantastic.
Are you going to see a bit of squad rotation now? You have to, I'd imagine, with some of it, will you?
It would depend, because I think this is the other thing that people need to remember. You know, there's a lot of science gone into the welfare of players now for various reasons, and people do need to remember, although there's a lot of games coming up, you know, in a short space of time, the total amount of games in this period is not massive for a squad of rugby players. You know, there's no A-League, there's no Premiership Cup, there's nothing like that happening. And so for a squad of players, really, it's going to take a little bit of a while to get them all to that sweet spot of beyond 5 or 6 games when they're actually at their best and least like to get injured. You know, you're least like to get injured once you've actually got quite a few minutes under your belt, and getting the balance right, that we're not chucking too many players out there all the time making debuts, is going to be important. And at the same time, we want to make sure that our frontline players are getting better and better and better, because they're getting the right amount of game minutes as well. So there's a fine balance. Now that's different between playing a game for 80 minutes, then 2 or 3 days later playing another 80 minutes. That's different. But whether we'll start rotating straight away before we go to Sale, I wouldn't like to say. I think once you get into midweek games, that's far more likely to happen.
You talk about debuts. Johnny Gray looked very good out there today. Sam Hidalgo, Klein came on.
Yeah.
You got people up and running. You have the full Sandy Park experience.
There's absolutely nothing better than on your debut winning. You know, I think that's the fantastic thing to do. I think it's a fantastic thing for the other players to try and achieve, for the guy who's making his debut. And fair to Johnny and Sam, they're really enjoying it. And that's the key for me. I want them to enjoy it. I want to go in that changing room after and see them smiling. And that's what I've seen today. They're there, they're clapping and stamping and jumping around and joining the club song and emotionally buying into things, and physically buying into things just how we want them to. You know, that's how you want it to be.